Hello, this is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. And yes, we are commanded to love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. Now, there are people who have a problem with me saying that we are commanded to love one another. Let me show you something. Somebody left this comment. I don't know what Willie Johnson said, but if he said you are making statements that are not scripturally sound, he would be correct. I don't care if you keep saying it. Do not add or take away, which is what you do every time you say, whether we agree or not, or whether we want to or not. Those are your words. You're absolutely right, and I'm going to keep saying them. Willie Johnson, who is a very good subscriber, and he leaves comments, and most of the time they're very funny or instructive in some way, but he doesn't like the, he doesn't like the we are commanded to love one another part. So he says that quite a bit. Stop saying it. A lot of people don't like to hear that we are commanded to love one another. But here's the scripture that this person is saying that I'm adding to. This is in the book of John, the 13th chapter and the 31st verse, in which Jesus says, "A new command I give you, love one another as I have loved you, so you must love one another." That is the command. So Jesus said you have to love. It's not optional. You have to love. But because I'm saying whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not, he says I'm adding to it. And in the book of Revelation, it says you're not supposed to add or take anything away. So the fact that I added, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not, this person is saying I'm not being scripturally sound. So let me clarify. We are commanded to love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. Now, for the person that's concerned, this is the Lord's business, between me and the Lord, not between you and me. And I'm going to take my chances with the Lord, okay? Is that clear enough for you? Now, on to today's discussion. Why Donald Trump was tried and found guilty. As we know, the former president has been tried and found guilty of 34 counts of falsifying documents and paying hush money and all sorts of things. Now, some people say it was a kangaroo court, that they changed the law in order to trap Donald Trump. So you wonder, why in the world would that happen to a person that's been the president of the United States? And he's running again to be the president of the United States. This is what Hakeem Jeffries, who is the House of Representatives minority leader, had to say about it.
This verdict in the case of People v. Trump was a validation of the American judicial system. Donald Trump was entitled to the presumption of innocence. He received it. Donald Trump was entitled to a trial by a jury of his peers. He received it. Donald Trump was entitled to a vigorous defense. He received it. 12 jurors, 12 American citizens, after 5 weeks of a trial, evaluated the facts, the evidence, and the law, and came to a unanimous decision as it relates to convicting Donald Trump on 34 felony counts. That is an affirmation of the American judicial system. This is America. We are not a system that is occupied by a monarch or a king or a dictator. We are a democracy. And in a democracy, no one is above the law.
Now, I think it's safe to say that Donald Trump has behaved in many ways as if not only did he think he was above the law, but that he was the law. When you consider some of the things he has said in his campaign speeches, when you consider how he behaved with the Central Park Five, when you consider how he has behaved when he has used the law of eminent domain to take people's property, he has never considered that he might be on the other side of the law. So in this particular case, Donald Trump found himself on the other side of the law. Now, I contend that if Donald Trump had never run for president, if he had stayed in New York City with all of his shenanigans, I don't believe he ever would have been brought up on charges. But when you start tampering with the United States government and playing around with the Constitution and the laws of the United States and making outrageous boasts and bragging about what he can do and what he would do, then he's stepping on very treacherous ground. So I want to go over some reasons why I believe Donald Trump was tried in the first place and then found guilty, and why I believe that a campaign to keep him from becoming president again will continue through November, and then we'll see whether or not they were successful in keeping him out of the White House. Number one, subverting the 2020 election. There is broad agreement among experts that Trump's most severe abuse of power was his relentless effort to undermine the 2020 election and overturn the legitimate results. In America, we say that we have a peaceful transfer of power. When your 8 years are up, that's the maximum that you can be the president in the United States, 2 terms. So when your 2 terms are up, or when you lose an election, you're supposed to shake hands with the opponent, collect your stuff out of the White House, and go on back to where you came from. Donald Trump didn't do that. He started bellyaching and complaining that the election was stolen, and he's still saying that. That is considered an abuse of power in the United States. When you lose, you're supposed to lose gracefully and move on. Nobody has a permanent home in the White House. Number 2, inciting an insurrection. Trump's attempt to cling to power reached a horrifying crescendo on January 6th when he incited a large gathering of supporters in Washington to attack the U.S. Capitol while the electoral votes were being counted. This is probably the most egregious act that Donald Trump was involved in as a president of the United States, and the main reason why important people who make decisions in this government do not want him to be president again. Number 3, abusing the bully pulpit. Many of the experts pointed to Trump's inflammatory and divisive rhetoric as a stark abuse of power, albeit not criminal, and probably not impeachable either. But they said Trump abused the bully pulpit by using his platform to brazenly spread lies and conspiracies, attack political opponents of all stripes, and praise bad actors like white nationalists and authoritarian leaders. This is also important. So he abuses power, he uses inflammatory language, and he just spread lies and conspiracies just like stuff he makes up. So this is very dangerous to this government. Number 4, politicizing the Justice Department. Trump politicized the Justice Department and FBI from the very start of his presidency until the final days. He repeatedly crossed lines and violated norms that have been in place since Watergate to create independence between the White House and federal law enforcement. Because of this, historians ranked him among the worst of American presidents because his goal was to twist the Justice Department to serve his own needs and not the national interest. Number 5, Obstructing the Mueller investigation. The Mueller investigation dominated the first 3 years of Trump's presidency. Angry over an investigation that he felt was illegitimate, Trump repeatedly lashed out at Mueller and took steps to undermine and obstruct the sprawling criminal probe. Mueller investigated 10 episodes and found persuasive evidence that Trump's actions fit the legal criteria to warrant criminal charges. Okay? So see, that was in 2019, and they let it go until his presidency was up. So in my cynical way of thinking, they were going to get him ever since 2019. Number 6, abusing the pardon power. The Constitution places almost no limits on presidential commutations and pardons for federal crimes, and many past presidents have granted controversial pardons, especially in their final weeks in office. But the experts agreed that Trump took this phenomenon to new extremes. Trump bypassed the regular process and almost never consulted with the Justice Department's clemency office, leading to some highly controversial pardons. These pardons undercut anti-corruption efforts and undermined the rule of law. But he didn't care. He did it the way he wanted to do it. So he broke all of the rules. Number 7, the Ukraine affair and cover-up. Trump is one of 3 presidents to get impeached, a fate he first faced in 2019 after pressuring the Ukrainian government to help his re-election campaign by announcing a baseless investigation into the Bidens. As part of the scheme, Trump unlawfully withheld nearly $400 million in much-needed military aid from Ukraine, even though Congress appropriated the funds with bipartisan support. Number 8, loyalty oaths and personalizing government. A recurring theme of the Trump presidency was the personalization of government, with Trump regularly conflating his interests with the national interests and demanding personal loyalty from nearly everyone around him in government. That is not the way the government is supposed to work. The government is its own interest. People who work for the government, they are paid by the government, not by the president. And Trump was so used to running his own business that he was trying to run the government like it was his own corporation. And that was a mistake, and the people had a problem with him. Number 9, firing whistleblowers and truth tellers. As someone who demanded absolute loyalty, Trump didn't react well when officials disagreed with him, either publicly or privately. Officials often lost their jobs if Trump felt like they weren't doing his bidding, or if they contradicted him in public, even to stand up for the truth. These were firings, forced resignations, and premature departures, which ramped up in Trump's final year. So he was pushing people out if they didn't agree with him, or if they told the truth about something that was going on in his administration. But we're not surprised by that, because we already know he's very petty like that. And number 10, profiting off the presidency. Trump was the first billionaire, so-called, to ascend to the presidency. When he took the mantle in 2017, he defied the universal advice from ethics specialists and refused to divest from his international business empire. Instead, Trump temporarily turned over control of his company to his adult sons, which he said his lawyers cleared from a conflict of interest. The biggest issue, the experts say, was the appearance of a massive conflict of interest. So Trump felt like he could do anything he wanted to do because he was the president of the United States. Many of those things, he broke the law, or he definitely broke protocol. He was a bad look for the country. Many people felt that he was an embarrassment. He was rude. He didn't present well as a president. That's just all there is to it. So I think that there would be an effort for people to do whatever they can to keep him from getting back into that White House, anything that's legal, unlike him, who will do anything legal or illegal, which is my opinion. But anyway, y'all, thank you for listening. Let me know what you think about the video, and have a great evening.